Hello everyone, this is Teen Librarian, aka Dungeon Master Shannon, and today I'm going to show you a cheap and easy way to enhance your Dungeons & Dragons play. As a Dungeon Master, do you ever get sick of having to draw out your maps while your players wait for you impatiently? And as a player, do you ever get confused about what's going on when there's nothing in front of you? Well, I have a solution for you. Today we're going to make dungeon tiles with materials that you probably already have lying around your house, or that you can easily get at the store. So, let's get started. The materials that you need are a cereal box, a ruler or a yardstick. Different sizes can help with different size tiles. Scissors, white glue, pen, pencil, craft acrylic paint. We used gray, but you can use any color that you'd like. Paintbrushes, markers, and clear acrylic matte sealer. First, you will be cutting apart the cereal box, separating the useful pieces from the scrap. You can already follow along with the creases in the cereal box. It helps keep your lines straight. You can see that I've sped up the video so that you don't have to sit here and watch me cut things out for minutes at a time. Next, you're going to clean up the edges on the useful pieces. This will give you a nice straight edge to measure from. Now we're going to map out our pieces. You can make different size rooms and hallways. I'm going to make a 4-inch by 4-inch square room. So I measure from the edge of the cardboard and make my little tick marks. Then I'm going to use the straight edge to draw the lines out. Make sure to try to plan ahead to maximize the use of your cardboard. It's kind of like playing a game of Tetris. I cut out the room, and then I use it to trace out an identical shape. We will be gluing these together to make our tile more steady, so that's why we need 2 of them. Trace out the second piece with the shape as your template, and then cut out your second piece. Next, we're going to glue the 2 pieces together. Remember to protect your work surface. Squeeze some white glue into a small disposable container, like this empty fruit cup that I'm using. Using a paintbrush, spread a thin layer of glue over the entire surface of your piece. Now it's time to smush them together. Take your other piece and try to line up the edges as best as possible. Press down firmly, using your hands to smooth the glue out all the way to the edges. You're going to need to let the glue dry. I left it overnight, but you might only need a few hours. The pieces do tend to curl up while it's drying, so you're going to want to make sure to have something heavy on top of it while it's drying so it dries flat. I used a book with some heavier items on top. I used the book to make sure that the pressure was distributed evenly on my piece. Now that the tile is dry, I'm going to seal it with my clear acrylic matte sealer before I paint. This is so the paint doesn't soak into the cardboard too much and make it peel up. Follow the instructions on the sealer. I did it off camera outside. Now it's time to paint your tile. I'm using gray paint because I wanted this to look like a stone dungeon, but you can use a different color like brown or black or whatever you'd like. Using a disposable container, another fruit cup, you can even use the same one you used for glue once the glue is dry. I'm going to paint the gray onto the tile using long brush strokes. Make sure you don't overwork the paint so it doesn't get clumpy. Leave the paint to dry for about 30 minutes, and then add any more coats as needed to make sure that you have good, even coverage. Your tile might start curving up again as the paint dries, but you can just use the same technique we used for the glue to weigh it down to get it to lay flat again. Just make sure your paint is dry first before you do it. Now it's time to draw your grid onto your dungeon tile. I'm doing a 1 inch by 1 inch square grid. Using your ruler or yardstick, depending on the size of your tile, make little hash marks on every inch. You're going to do this for both directions, both vertically and horizontally. Once you have your marks, you're going to use the straight edge of your ruler to draw your lines. I'm using a pencil right now because I know that I might mess up, and with a pencil, I can always erase the marks if I do. When you're drawing your lines, make sure not to go from edge to edge. You're going to leave a little bit of room on each side with your lines because we're going to put a border on the tiles. Once you have your grid lines drawn out, you're going to take a black ballpoint pen and trace over the lines that you made with your pencil. Use your ruler still because you want to make sure that your lines are nice and straight. Once you have the ballpoint pen lines down, you can use the eraser on your pencil to erase any mistakes you made. Now we're going to create a thin border on all 4 sides of our tile. Using the straight edge, make a line. Don't go from edge to edge because we're going to connect all 4 lines to create a frame. Once your border is complete, take your straight edge and finish any lines that didn't quite meet up. I'm going to make my border look like different stone bricks since this is a stone dungeon. Watch closely as I draw out the brick pattern. I'm going to make the bricks random in different sizes because you don't want it to be repetitive. That doesn't look natural. To create some more interest, I'm going to color in my bricks with different shades of gray. So I use these gray markers to start coloring in the bricks. I'm not going to do a consistent pattern since I want it to look natural. So I just kind of randomly decide which ones are going to be dark and which ones are going to be light. Sometimes the same color will be next to the same color because it's random. Whoever built this wall was using whatever they had on hand, and that's what makes it look natural and interesting. Now to create some more visual interest, I'm going to use my ballpoint pen to create chipping and cracks on the tiles. Chipping can be just little black marks in the corners or along the lines, showing that pieces of the tile, of the granite tile, have been chipped up over the years. To make the cracks, I'm going to kind of freehand it and make sure that you're not pressing too hard and that it's kind of, you keep your hand loosey-goosey. It can be helpful if you've never done cracks on tiles before to have a reference. So you can always Google cracked stone blocks and look at pictures and kind of follow along with that. And remember, less is more when it comes to the cracks. You don't want every single tile on your piece to have a crack or a chip out of it. That would be too much. Using the same process that we used to make the dungeon tile, you can also make other 3D pieces to go along in your dungeon, like these doors I made with the cereal box. I used the same process, except I painted them brown. I made the borders look exactly like the border we used for the dungeon tile to kind of bring it all together. I also used my straight edge to draw on the planks and the other small details like the door hinges. To make them stand up, I cut thin strips of cardboard from the cereal box, and then I'm going to fold it in half. Then I'm going to cut a thin slice out of the top of it. Not all the way through, just the top. I'm going to do that on 2 of them. Then I'm going to take the door and cut thin slices out of the bottom of the door. Don't do it too close to the edge of the door, but not in the middle either. Now you'll push the sliced pieces together and your door stands up and is a 3D component of your dungeon. You can make different size tiles like hallways, corners, small treasure rooms, big boss rooms. You're only limited by your imagination. The nice thing about these dungeon tiles is that you can reuse them and move them around into different configurations depending on your game. So there you have it, awesome custom dungeon tiles that you can use for your next campaign. Be sure to like and share this video, and if you do go ahead and make your own dungeon tiles, take a picture and share it in the comments. I'd love to see what you come up with. Also, if you're interested in asking me more questions or advice regarding Dungeons & Dragons, I do have Team D&D 101 this coming Thursday, June 11th, from 4 to 6 p.m. via Zoom. And if your age is 12 to 18 and you're interested in playing Dungeons & Dragons, I am starting a campaign for KPL teens on Roll20 Virtual Tabletop. The first session will be Sunday, June 28th from 2 to 4 p.m. Space is limited for both programs, so make sure you go to our website and sign up today. Thanks for watching, and Quest on!